Hello and welcome to The Mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and if you're one of those people that kind of listens just the intro of the video before deciding how far you dig into it, at least hang with me until Wednesday because there was some exciting stuff that came with the Stonemaier Wednesday Facebook live stream. So this week we are talking about the week in Stonemaier games ending July 17th. So let's go ahead and start with last Sunday, shall we? July 11th. The Sunday sit-down was about Jamey's top 10 lessons that he learned from Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. And it wasn't strictly gameplay related, but there was a lot of that in it. Actually, most of it is, of course. But Jamey goes on and talks about stuff like asymmetry, collaboration and cooperation, enemy behaviors, progression, the scenario book, and the tutorials. And he actually goes into the tutorial quite a bit because he has a lot of positive to say about the fact that, you know, I think it's a 5-game campaign and how those cards are laid out so that you start with cards in your hand that really dig down and describe what's going on. And the scenario book has a lot of the setup instruction, or not setup instruction, but I guess you could call it that, where it's if you're playing 2 to 3 players, you know, maybe you're only putting characters here on the scenario book where you lay it open and the map's right there. It's not like the full-blown Gloomhaven or maybe Frosthaven, I'm not sure, but Gloomhaven where you have those tiles to set up. Everything is right there in the book. And so Jamey talks about, you know, the things he appreciates about that. He also goes into, kind of starts right off in how he appreciates Isaac and Cephalofair Games and how sometimes it is the people who make the things that we enjoy or the things they stand for that oftentimes maybe promote or encourage our purchasing habits. And so, you know, Jamey mentions, you know, some of the things that Isaac stands for and Cephalofair Games stands for, and, you know, how that impacts his enjoyment of the game. On Monday, July 12th, the Stonemaier blog, Jamey talks about, do you have an exit strategy, or what an exit strategy might look like for a board game company? And he just talks about the fact that, you know, when he started out, he didn't know if it was going to be a one and done experience or whether or not it was going to be something that lasts as it has so far. But he goes over 8 different exit scenarios, and it's everything from, you know, the big sexy acquisition to a shareholder buyout to just plain old fizzle out and everything in between. And, you know, what that might look like for, you know, a board game company, but also, you know, how that might help some of your planning. What are you actually in it for, and that type of thing. So Tuesday, July 13th, Jamey did a My Favorite Game Mechanism for Dice Miner. I feel like these are a bad thing for me to, I guess, summarize because the videos are real short, like 6-7 minutes in most cases. So check that out on his YouTube channel. On Wednesday, July 14th, the Facebook Wednesday live stream, there were a couple of really interesting questions this week. There always are, but there were some that really caught my attention, and I wanted to go into them a little bit. The first one was, would you ever consider selling a game with just the parts for a 2-player game and then allowing folks to buy the materials to match their player counts? Jamey mentions, you know, that every year he does a survey to kind of understand how people play their games. And he mentions that for the 1 to 2 player count, that represents 40% of the people that answered that survey. Now, of course, not everyone who plays Stonemaier games is going to answer that survey, but of the people who did, 40%, 1 or 2 player is their, 40% of those is their primary player count. And so in that case, there are a lot of materials in the box that just don't get used and never will if they're not playing with groups bigger than that. And Jamey mentions that he has some ideas on how to do this, and he doesn't, I think he indicates that he's not planning to sell 2-player games where you can buy the components for 3, 4, or 5 players, but he does think that he has an idea that he's going to do something with in the future. And so I thought that was kind of fascinating because I know certainly in my instance, it is and has kind of been that 1 and 2 players is my predominant player count, and occasionally, you know, breaking into 3, 4, and 5, but most of the time it's 1 and 2. And he mentions that that's actually part of the reason that he is selling the Wingspan neoprene mats individually, because some people only play Wingspan solo, and 40% 1 to 2, at least that responded to that survey. So really interested to see what that means for some future title of Stonemaier games, but this was the big one. This is the one that I told you to hang around for because I thought this was fascinating. I'm just going to go ahead and let Jamey read the question and answer it and come back with my response to it.
Zach says, with my upcoming open world game, have I been inspired to use a spiral storybook like Sleeping Gods and Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion? I love the spiral storybooks in those games, but it does not work for the mechanisms of my game. You will see a whole new level of open world with my game. Not to diminish those games at all. I think the Sleeping Gods open world is incredible, but I think you're in for something special with the open world game that I'm working on. Yeah. It is far too big for a spiral book to contain.
All right, so that is super exciting, right? I mean, it's nothing, right? It's all speculation, but him saying that he thinks we're in for something special, and that a spiral-bound notebook that contains the map is not big enough for the mechanics or what he has in mind for his open world game, which again, I think is codename Wild on the work in progress chart. Again, total speculation there. We have seen it be in that same, I guess, work in progress position design, I think, for quite a while now, but we've been hearing Jamey talk more and more about it lately, so I get the impression that maybe this is something that is starting to, if there were any, hang-ups or whatever, like he's had some kind of breakthrough and we might start seeing those dots start moving. In any case, just him, the way he talked about the mechanics and, he thinks we're in for something special. Jamey's not prone to hyperbole. He doesn't do it. So just him saying what he did, that makes me feel like he thinks it's special. And, that's exciting. I mean, for me, that's exciting because he's not prone to that type of thing. And he's also not like, hey, hype it up. But whatever that open world is, in your opinion, what could that mechanic be? What is kind of special? Like, I don't know if he said we haven't seen it before, but at the very least, I guess my mind is just like going all over the place. Is it, tiles and you could flip them? What kind of exploration? What would make it so big that it wouldn't fit inside a spiral-bound book, particularly when he talks about the lessons learned in Gloomhaven, Jaw of the Lion, and how some of those you put two books together to make a larger map. He didn't say anything negative about that at all. So that just makes me think that even having those two books side by side is not large enough to, really do what, he has in mind for this game. And in terms of table presence, I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about table space and all that kind of thing, but I think it's been at least a little bit of time since we've had a Stonemaier game that has where the map itself is a very big presence. You could probably consider Tapestry, but I'm just thinking in terms of size, and especially when you're using the big board or the extended map, it draws all eyes to that board when you walk past, right? So that was the big exciting news there from the Wednesday Facebook live stream. On Thursday, Jamey on his Stonemaier blog is going through and kind of recapping lessons, the articles that he's written before, because, wow, as of the time he posted this, he has written over 900 blog posts about Kickstarter and lessons learned and stuff for creators. And so he has been just kind of going through it and just summarizing those because it's a lot to consume. And so maybe at least if you see the summary and it's something of interest to you, then you can go ahead and jump into that particular blog post. But 900 plus blog post entries about Kickstarter, that is just a wealth of knowledge right there. And that is also what the Stonemaier Champion program supports. Gives him the ability to go and do that for all those Kickstarter creators and maybe just people that are curious about that aspect of running a campaign. That brings us to Friday, which was July 16th. And that was the worldwide release day for the expansion for Between Two Castles, A Mad King Ludwig, Secrets and Soirees, the expansion that introduced solo mode, introduces a two-player mode, and you can pick that up today, hopefully, in your friendly local game store. And if not, let them know you're interested, or wherever you want to support people that are providing those games. You can pick that up. And then finally, another my favorite game mechanism, well, I don't know why that was so hard to get out, for Crash Octopus. I hadn't actually watched that video yet, so I told you I wasn't going to summarize those videos anyway, but just the name of that title kind of invokes like a what kind of craziness could this game be? Crash Octopus. In fact, I think right after I hit stop on this video, I may have to go check that out because I'm intrigued. But that is all I have for you this week. If you have any comments, particularly about what do you think of this open world news, I would love to hear it in the comments. If there's anything that you want to see on the mill, make sure you drop those in too. Until next time, I just thought of something. In the Facebook live stream, Jamey mentioned that his dad was at the doctor, still, seeking treatment for his cancer. So please keep Jamey and his dad and his family in your thoughts and prayers. If that is, whatever your expression of faith is, please send those warm wishes to Jamey's dad and family. And that is all I have for you this week. Until next time, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.